Tonight on poll position, what's driving opposition to VAT on school fees? Ed Davey and the Liberal Democrats have launched their manifesto, but does anybody care? And do we need more working class MPs in a House of Commons increasingly middle and upper class? Hello, good evening. I'm Kevin Maguire. Welcome to this latest edition of the Daily Mirror's election show Poll Position. 15 minutes of politics at 6 p.m. Monday to Thursday. Tonight's guest is the former chair of the Labour Party and president of the National Union of Mine Workers, and it is Ian Lavery. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm all right. You're standing, aren't you, again? Your constituency's been redrawn. It's now Blyth and Ashington in Northumberland.
It is. It's Blyth and Ashington, and there's lots of people within the constituency really unhappy that we haven't named, or that their part of town, like Bedlington and Newbigin, aren't named in the new constituency. I prefer to call it South East Northumberland, and that covers everyone in the constituency. But it's Blyth and Ashington, but I prefer to call it South East Northumberland.
And I looked up at the polling aggregator, electoral calculus, and they think you have a 99% chance of winning. Why is it not 100?
Well, I'm disappointed in that, by the way, because I genuinely thought it was 100%. Because I've been watching electoral calculus like every single MP does, by the way. They'll deny it most of the time, but everyone looks at electoral calculus. And it's been 100% for me for a whole number of weeks. So to see it reduced by 1%, I wonder what on earth I'm doing wrong here, but I will sharpen myself up.
They're keeping you on your toes.
They are, and rightly so.
It's been another extraordinary day in this election. Rishi Sunak saying, people can find it in their hearts to forgive him for leaving the veterans on the beaches at D-Day. Have you found it in your heart?
I haven't found it in my heart. And I know a politician should say, well, he's apologised and we think he's a jolly decent guy. The reality is, Kevin, that this Mr. Sunak, he is the most senior politician in the House of Commons. There was 658. He is the Prime Minister. He's the one who represents his country, whether it be on a local, regional, national, or in this case, an international stage. And for him to leave basically at half-time was an absolute disgrace. And I can tell you, speaking to many people, which I have done over the past few days, people are absolutely appalled. A lot of people, mind, who would probably be considering or voting for the Conservatives have said that they would never vote Conservative for the Conservative Party so long as Rishi Sunak has got anything at all to do with it. And I can understand that. And I've been to a number of commemoration services here in South East Northumberland, and I've been just basically saying that we've got to remember the young men and women, working class people, many of them who forged that age. They were younger than the age was said they were to get out there on the front line. Many of them were cannon fodder as well to make sure that we've got the freedoms we've got. And here we've got the Prime Minister leaving at half time, which is it's just not acceptable. I'm afraid I haven't got anything positive to say about that, and I wouldn't accept his apology.
Yeah, there was a Mirror columnist, Geoffrey Goodman, who was a good friend of mine, who added a year onto his age to join the RAF in the Second World War. And I went to his 90th birthday, and it was a great bash. He died a couple of years later, and I found out I wasn't at his 90th, I was at his 89th. He just kept that extra year on for the rest of his life.
So, I mean, these are the people that Rishi Sunak's offended. When you're seeing the fantastic coverage on the television, you couldn't help but be tremendously moved. And you can only but imagine what the soldiers, the troops, 150,000, 160,000 Allied troops, when they arrived on the beaches. You can only but imagine the situation they found themselves in. But they liberated Western Europe. and basically that's why we were eventually able to beat the Nazis. And for Sunak to leave early, this was a strategic decision taken. Who on earth is advising him? I mean, Cameron was there taking all, part of all the photographs. Why did David Cameron not say, Rishi, this isn't a good idea? Why did his advisors, special advisors, the top advisors in the country not say, this isn't a good idea? But the question is, why did Rishi Sunak not just simply say, when advised, that is absolutely preposterous. I'm not doing that for whatever reason. I'll be there till the ceremony is finished in its entirety.
Yeah. Right, can we move on to your party, the Labour Party? The manifesto launches on Thursday. You've launched manifestos yourself in the past. One of the central proposals that we know about is to put VAT on private school fees to fund 6,500 teachers and breakfast clubs for the 93%, 94% possibly of kids who go to the real public schools, state schools. Now, you would have thought that's a very popular measure and people will be applauding it. What do you think is driving the political opposition in the Conservative Party and parts of the media, which just seem to be obsessed by this policy?
Well, when you look at the 6,500 new teachers would be created by this policy announcement, and they would be in the mainstream schools, which is fantastic. We're crying out for more teachers in better schools, and indeed there would be more mental health teachers, mental health support teachers in every school as well. So important in this day and age, because in the past 14 years, the pastoral care which we've had in schools have been just withdrawn. The funding for mainstream schools is just an unacceptable level, and many of them just cannot afford to continue in the way they are. So looking at the potential to raise £1.7 billion from tax breaks from private schools, I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. And listen, I'm not envious. I didn't go to any private school. I didn't go to university. I'm not envious of this. I just think fairness is most important. And I think that if you've got the money to use for your children at a private school, use it which way you want to. However, we've got to make sure that mainstream schools and kids who are in constituencies like mine here in South East North London, they get an equal opportunity. What's wrong with that? I would ask anybody to tell me what's unfair about taking away tax breaks from private schools to give other people in other schools equal opportunity and a little bit of hope. That isn't anything, but I do think, genuinely, I think the opposition probably is because many MPs, and I would say, from all sides, by the way, Kevin, have got their kids in private schools. I think many of the members of the media, which you mentioned before, I would think that a lot of them have got their children in private school, and it gives them a much higher degree of opportunity than people have in constituencies like mine. It isn't.
Yeah, some have admitted it actually, Ian. When I've been on TV, some have admitted it's kind of they'll have to pay it and they don't want to pay it, so they then raise it as an issue while just ignoring the benefits of all those extra teachers, the kids clubs, mental health staff, as you say. Interestingly, the Sutton Trust found the last election, 2019, 41% of Conservative MPs were privately educated, 14% of Labour and 30% of Lib Dems.
Well, I mean, the figures speak for themselves. But again, Kevin, I'm not envious, and the vast majority of people that I'm, circle I'm mixed with, I'm not envious, but I think fairness is really important. I think that fairness in education, fairness to all our children. We're sick of being left behind in our communities, we're sick of being left behind on everything. And this is just another case. We've got crumbling schools. We've got a lack of teachers. We've got a lot of people, teaching assistants who aren't qualified to teach a subject which they are teaching. We've got schools, schools crumbling. We need fairness, man. We need these kids to be looked after. We've got huge issues with regard to child poverty. We've got 30% of people kids in this country suffering from child poverty. And we need to like level this up. Excuse the pun, by the way, because that's a conservative pun. But I mean it when I say level up. We need to be leveling up, and it cannot be on an elitist agenda. And that's not being a loony left, or it's not being Marxist, Leninist, revolutionary. It's about genuine fairness, man. And that's what we've got to do if we indeed get elected on July the 4th. That's one of the most important things. We've got to look at fairness across the board and ensure that our kids, regardless of constituency, regardless of geography, get an equal chance in life. And if that means free school meals for all, which I think is a very important issue, if it means taking money from the private schools, like being suggested, £1.7 billion per year to assist in those types of projects to level up in the mainstream schools, well, so be it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ian, can I ask about just almost Lib Dem corner here? I mean, they are challenging the Tories hard in a lot of blue wall seats in the south, including the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt. They used to have an MP in Berwick, Alan Beath in Northumberland, as you know. Ed Davies launched their manifesto, 27 billion of tax increases. Some of them, will they really actually exist, to fund several things, but one of them big ones is the NHS. Are the Lib Dems a player at all in the northeast, in your part of the country?
In the northeast, obviously it's different. The red wall is different, the blue wall. But in the northeast, honestly, and I'm not being disrespectful, I'll just say it the way it is, and we I say it, they're a busted flush. They're a party of a bygone era. At one time, when I first was elected in 2010, the Lib Dems got about 10,000 votes, so they're next to the Labour Party in one back in 2010. They were the main contenders. They'll be lucky, honestly, they'll be lucky to save their deposit at the next election in Blythe and Ashington. And I think that comes from the Northumberland seats as well. Where Alan Beath was in the Berwick constituency, which is now Northumberland North and North Northumberland, the Lib Dems aren't really in the running, and the same goes for the Hexham seat and for the seat in Cramlington and Killingworth. They're nowhere to be seen, to be honest. They're a complete and utter busted flush.
There's no point Ed Davey going to keel the water and falling off a sailboard there then.
Well, he can make a fool of himself anywhere he wants, so he's welcome to come. He's welcome to come to keel that if he so wishes. I mean, he's a decent bloke, but I mean, he's got a strange way of campaigning, hasn't he?
It kind of works for him because he gets noticed we're talking about it. So I suppose the embarrassing dad act.
Well, I think that's probably right, but I'm not sure if you want to win an election, being an embarrassing dad is like a great feature, positive feature to have. Yeah. I think serious politician, I mean, looking at the facts and the figures in our manifesto of the day, basically, where they're going to get the money from to provide from some of the policies which they've brought forward, whether that's the NHS, which is a top priority, defence is the second priority, child poverty is the third priority. Where will they get the money from with regards to pay for the policies that they've outlined today? And now they say they're going to get 7.2 million from tax avoidance, 5.2 million from capital gains tax, and so on and so on. But I'm just not sure. They're a busted flush. And you can say anything you want when you know full well that you're not going to be anywhere near the hands of power. You're not going to get the keys for Downing Street. So you can say whatever you want.
Now, Ian, economic class are the shackles that rarely get discussed. According to the Institute of Public Policy Research, only 1% of Tory MPs in 2019 were from working class homes. Labour, the figure was 13%, down from 28% in 1987. You went down the pit at 17. Angela Rayner, her background in a very difficult struggle in early life, became a carer. You're from working class homes, quickly. Does it matter that we now have so few MPs from working class homes? And if it does matter, because I think you will say it does, what do we do about it?
Well, we've got to make sure, of course, it matters. We've got to have people in Parliament that reflects the constituencies in this current 650 when they're elected on July the 4th. No matter what, will not reflect the constituencies in which we represent. We need more working class people, people who are getting their hands dirty, perhaps people who have been unemployed, perhaps people who've been on benefits, perhaps people who have, went to ordinary schools and had it tough. And I think it gives it would be refreshing to ensure that we have that type of expertise and knowledge in the Commons. But I would say, Kevin, that the way in which MPs are being selected, nominated, etc., from both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party at this point in time leaves lots to be desired. If we leave it to the leaders of each party to handpick their friends for really safe seats without constituencies and without individuals having a say, we're always going to get an imbalance in the numbers and the workers, etc., in the House of Commons.
All right, fewer bankers and lawyers, more factory workers, shop workers, hairdressers, call centre workers. Yep. I think that's what you want, don't you?
Well, that's exactly what we want. We want people who have the experience. We want more disabled people in there. How many people have we got in the Commons who are disabled, who's actually, suffered as a consequence of a disability? Yet we've got lots of people in the Commons, 658 MPs. Keep telling them that they should be getting better work. Keep telling them that they're not as bad as what they profess to be. And it just shows a lack of representation in the Commons. We're desperately in need of fair representation right across the board. And you're right, it cannot just continue to be bankers and financial investors, hedge fund managers, auditors, lawyers, solicitors. We've got to focus on working class people having an equal opportunity to get in there and represent the people in our communities.
Thank you very much, Ian Lavery, the former chair of the Labour Party, standing in Blythe and Ashington, which you'd prefer to call South East Northumberland. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Be back tomorrow, 6 p.m, same time, same place on Pole Position.